Red Voyage News, splashing the check-in. Thank you for tuning in. I have an article right here brought to you by BBC.com. China NPC 3-child policy formally passed into law. Okay, so not too long ago, I used to live in China, by the way. I used to live in Beijing. When I was in Beijing, I think I was there in 2014. And at that time, it was a lottery toss-up to certain people, certain families, to where they could have either one child or two kids. Okay, it doesn't matter how much money you make. It was like the government. They just said, okay, whatever your last name is, everybody in this family, or you individually, or your couple, or however the process was. They never explained it to me. It's just that only certain people could have one kid and only certain people could have two kids. It didn't matter how much money you make or whatever. If you were a business owner, if you were more financially stable, if the government said that you can only have one child, you could only have one child. All right. So that means that the abortion rate in China is, extremely high. A lot of people don't talk about that. All right. You got these young girls in university having sex, every which way, 7 ways till Sunday. They're getting pregnant, and as soon as they get pregnant, they just go over to the hospital and they get an abortion. Or if they get pregnant, they will go through with the pregnancy, have the baby, and then end up selling the baby off to the mafia. And that's why you see a lot of beggars on the trains in China. All right, you'll see beggars with their limbs. They only have one limb, 2 arms have been cut off, 1 leg has been cut off, 3rd-degree burns all over their body, ears cut off, 1 eye gouged out, their teeth has been yanked out, and they have a can. They get on these trains and they beg for people for money on the trains all day. They just become permanent beggars. And these were people who just irresponsibly had sex and couldn't afford to take care of a child, didn't want to have a child, but went along with the pregnancy anyway. And they sold it off to the mafia. And they probably sold it off for an iPhone. All right, it's very deep. Okay, it's very deep. Just with my own eyes. Okay, so what is the 3-child policy? China had announced back in May that it would allow couples to have up to 3 children in a major policy shift. That decision has now been formally passed into law, along with several resolutions aimed at boosting the birth rate and reducing the burden of raising a child. These include canceling the social maintenance fee, a financial penalty couples pay for having children beyond the limit, okay, encouraging local governments to offer parental leave. So this financial penalty or this social maintenance fee, you're not doing anybody a favor. Like, okay. So the social maintenance fees, you're not doing anybody a favor. All right. Encouraging local governments to offer parental leave. And countries like, I know in Canada, maternal leave is like, I believe it's a year. It's a year of a woman getting paid 80% of her salary. So if a woman has something to do with the oil rigs, you're working for an oil rig company for like 6 months, right? Whatever you were doing. Let's say you were out in the oil patch, right? But you were just or serving food, or maybe you were an NCSO. You're out there for 6 months. You're making, let's say you're making $10,000 a month. And now you go from making $10,000 a month, you get pregnant, now you're making $8,000 a month just being at home while your husband or your boyfriend works. So it's like that extra income. I believe maternal leave is either 1 year or 2 years in Canada. I know it's for at least 1 year. Whereas in America, they really only allow up to 12 weeks for certain companies. All right. And there are companies that only allow 2 weeks. I won't say which ones, but it ranges from 2 to 12 weeks, whereas Canada, it's a year to 2 years. China, like maternal leave is just, hey man, as soon as you have that baby, you better come back in here and, you know, you better come back the next day. That's how they were. And that's why a lot of companies, they didn't really like hiring women because of maternal leave. The risk of, you know, your production value, it goes down because it's like, okay, I have this worker, everything is going good. Then 6 months later, she's pregnant, and okay, she's 4 months pregnant now. So she got pregnant the second month she got here. Now, within 5 months when she has a baby, I have to either get somebody else to do her job or I have to hire somebody to come in and do her job. And I have to pay both of them for the price of one. So the price of one person's workload, I have to dish out twice the money. You have a lot of companies that are like that. That's why they like hiring. Most companies in Asia, in China especially, they like hiring married couples, or they like hiring a woman that's already married, who already has her one child or two kids, who's already at the limit for her policy. Now you're going to have a bunch of women. I won't even say that. I won't even say that because there's a flip side to this. But let's go down that path. Let's look at both sides of the coin. On one end, you're going to have a bunch of women who are going to get pregnant and they're going to receive maternal leave. A lot of these, because, you know, it's still a patriarchal society in China. You have a lot of these business owners that they get upset. And should they get upset? I don't feel like they should. But hey, we're talking about, I used to live in China, so you have to put yourself in the minds of business owners and the culture in China. See, a lot of you guys, you don't, they'll talk about the good side of everybody's culture, but you don't, if you've never lived there, you don't really understand the culture. I'm being objective right now. Side, a lot of women, a lot of men and women in China, they don't want to get married. They don't want to have kids. A lot of people in China, they have only child syndrome. Okay, there were a lot of people who were raised just being the only child. And the only child syndrome is real, selfish. It's about me. I don't know why my phone did that. Everything is about me. You know, why would I get married? Why? There's 40 million more men than women in China. So that means already 40 million men are going to pass away without ever having kids. A lot of them, they're going to die virgins. Okay? And even the women that are available, a lot of them, they don't want to have kids. A lot of them don't even want to be in relationships. They want to go through what their parents went through. The hardships, the headache, you know, it's like you have a family, you want your kid to go to a school, and then the school says, hey, if you want your kid to go to a school in this district, you have to buy a home, and homes are very expensive. You know, you can't just bring a child over here and live in some rinky-dink apartment just paying rent. No, you have to buy a home, and you have to show us that you're a part of the community, you're a tax-paying citizen that's really a part of the community, investing into the community, and your tax dollars are actually going to the school before we can, you know, allow your child to be registered within the school. 100% Chinese in order for them to go to this school. I mean, it's you got to go through, and then it's like all the money that you make, you don't really even, like the average salary with somebody who has a degree in China, I think it's like 6,000 renminbi a month. I just looked it up. They said the average yearly wages in China is around about, it's like 70-something thousand, 80-something thousand. So it's roughly 6,000 to 7,000 renminbi per month, which is very low. It's pretty low. So you combine that with your significant other, and you're spending all this money on a house, and you're already not even making that much money. Then it's like if you want your child to get ahead in life, you have to save for their education and you have to invest into their education. Then you got to invest into their, after school program, English learning skills. And, it's just way too expensive. So they're doing things to kind of reduce the burden, as they say it. So now English learning, to learn English, they're saying it's a nonprofit organization right now in China. They've gotten rid of the ESL language industry within China. So now, like some of your big powerhouses like Wall Street English and stuff like that, they're all out of business right now. They filed for bankruptcy. You can only volunteer to teach people English, but it's like, who wants to volunteer to teach? I'm not doing this for free, especially with people's kids who act unruly, who don't listen, because out here they're taught, hey, if they're not Chinese, if they don't look like mommy and daddy, I don't have to listen to them, especially if they're black. So, like a lot of people, they're going through it when they teach, and you want us to still go through the same things, but teach them for free? No. No. So, even though they're implementing, because they want to raise the population because it's a dying society. All right. They're becoming extinct. Okay. You have 40 million more men than women. So within the next generation, 40 million more men, the population is going to drop by at least 40, 50 million. Then you got you got people that are moving out. You got people that are procreating with other foreigners. You have the LGBTQ in China. So, yes, there's adoption, but they're not procreating with each other. They just don't want to have kids. You got guys that they just don't want to have kids. They don't want to get married. It's like, nah, it's all about me. Like, for what? Yeah, I'll have sex, but I don't want to have kids. I don't want to have a family. So that's why they're trying to push this. They want to encourage people to mate and have kids and raise the population because it's becoming extinct. I mean, I've done the numbers. I've done the math. Like, I looked it up. Japan, it's on the brink of extinction. I mean, it'll take decades for that to happen, but they have a negative birth rate. Korea has a negative birth rate. China has a negative birth rate. Taiwan has a negative birth rate. A lot of these countries, they have a negative birth rate. So, and it's too expensive to have kids. And on top of that, like when I was living in Beijing, I forgot, like, the city is huge. All right. I thought Houston was big. No, you think Houston or Dallas, as far as square mileage is the biggest cities in America? No, Beijing is the biggest city I've ever been to. Beijing has like 22 million people living in that city. 22 million. Many people living in Beijing, man, like they have it to where the last digit of everybody's license plate on their cars, on their vehicles, it's either an odd or an even number. And people who have even numbers can only drive on certain days. People who have odd numbers on the end of their license plate can only drive on certain days. If you're caught driving with an odd number license plate on an even day, then you're getting in trouble. Vehicles is causing so much pollution, and there's not enough vehicles for everybody to just drive on the roads. And it's just traffic all day, all night. The pollution and the emission coming from gas. I mean, that's why they have that PM 2.5. One of the reasons why they have that PM 2.5 problem in certain parts of China, including Beijing. It's insane. When I was living in Beijing, like, you couldn't even see across the street from you. It was just thick orange smog haze all over the place. People have to take the train. You get on the train, like, especially in the mornings, you have to wait for, like, the lines are so long, you might have to wait 7 to 8 trains before you can actually get on the train. And when you get on the train, I mean, you are squished. Somebody's elbow is in your ribs. I mean, it's that jam packed. And that's why Asians out here, they look at you funny style if you live 30, 45 minutes away from your job. Like, are you crazy? So you have to go through all of that every single day to come to work and then go back, but in places like Taiwan, it's overcrowded, but it's not as overcrowded as Beijing. Allowed to have motorbikes and vehicles, and they don't tell you, okay, if you have even number on your license plate, you can only ride on certain days. No, you can drive every day in Taiwan. Imagine having to go through all of that, riding the bus, riding the train where it's packed, jam packed, people's elbows and shoulders and your ribs, and you can't even breathe. And imagine going through all that every single day, and you have a child. Just being single, taking care of yourself, you have a lot that you have to go through in a day. You barely have any time for yourself, especially the working hours of people in China. It's like 12 hours. Like, the average person works like 10 to 12 hours every single day in China. Most of the time, 12. Now, are they constantly busy every minute of those 12 hours? No. But the average person works like 12 hours in China. And this is coming from people who's had conversations with people in China. The average person works like 12 hours a day in China. So, and then on top of that, you work 12 hours, then you gotta, your family, your mother and father live with you, then your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, they all live in the same house. You don't have any peace at all, no privacy. They're the ones picking up the kids. They're the ones getting the kids ready, raising the kids. And it's like you come home and it's like you can't even just walk around in your drawers. You can't scratch your ass, fart without somebody always being there. And a lot of people are not signing up. Like, you can put 3, 4, 5 kids out there. Nobody wants to have 3, 4, 5 kids in China. A lot of people don't even want to have kids. A lot of people don't even want to get married. They don't want to go through what their parents went through. All right. If you'd like to donate to this channel, you can click the link to the description box below to my buymeacoffee.com page, hit support, and quote unquote, buy me a coffee. The minimum amount you could donate is $5. If you would like to become a member, then you can sign up for my membership. All right. So this is similar to Patreon. All right. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.